Anime games are terrible. They were really fun growing up, but as of recently, the quality in games and the ideas just aren't good and they aren't original, and in most cases, they just aren't fun. Starting off recently, the game Sparking Zero was really hyped about. The graphics on it were amazing and I was waiting for this game for months. But when the game released, I found out really quickly that this game was just lacking in features that any game should have had. The visuals and the gameplay were good enough for me. I wasn't gonna complain about those. But my issue was the fact that I couldn't play with friends that were on console. I feel like crossplay nowadays should just be an expectation for these games. But if we're looking past that and maybe you don't have friends on console, I think another issue I had was the fact that there wasn't much room for couch party play. The split screen on it was terrible and almost unplayable. Playing it with friends, I wanted to sit down with four of us, maybe 4 controllers in a match, and find some type of way so we could all fight each other, but the game was just strictly one-on-one. It also lacked an online co-op too, so you couldn't 2v2 other people, just in case you didn't even want to do it with somebody next to you. I understand these things aren't easy, but my issue is the fact that I don't think they should have released it if this wasn't going to be in the game. And besides the short story mode, which I thought was really good, I think the bad part about it was when you actually get up to do online matches because you still want to enjoy your purchase, you realize that this game had little to no balancing at all. And a good representation of that is the fact that a lot of people ended up dropping the game after release, after just a couple weeks of release. This game got you at the start with some really good visuals and story mode, but it lacked a way to keep you on it. And to no one's surprise, now the game is just another DLC galore. Another point I wanted to have with this video was the fact that we're lacking in original ideas for anime games. As a kid growing up, one of my favorite ideas for games was, what if I found a way to put myself into this anime? What if I found a way to fight the enemies of this anime? Which came with Xenoverse, and I thought that game was one of the best anime game ideas. It was so good in fact that this game survived for years and even created a sequel, Xenoverse 2, which still has a community to this day. Which just goes to show when you get out of the box to do ideas that people might actually really want to see, games actually last. Shinobi Striker tried doing the same exact thing. I played it a bit. I think my bigger issue with that is the fact that that game has so many microtransactions, but besides that, I thought the gameplay was fun, especially for the first 2 to 3 weeks. I really loved grinding that game with friends. Attack on Titan and Sword Art Online even did that idea too, which I'm not sure about the Attack on Titan game because I didn't buy it, but I can only imagine that a lot of people at least bought the game because of that idea alone. I saw the trailer for the Soul Leveling game 2 that's coming up, and I was disappointed to see that they had 4-player co-op. It looks like a story mode too, but the only character you can play as and customize was Sun Jinwoo. I can't help but think that there was a clear idea here, especially with the success of the anime. I really think they thought about the idea of creating characters, but somehow in some way, Sun Jinwoo was the only character you can play, which is quite fitting because I can't even name 3 Soul Leveling characters off my head. And the final point of this video that I'm gonna make, because I don't want to overextend this too long, was Arena Fighters. Arena Fighters started getting popularity after Ninja Storm 4, and after that we've seen games like Cursed Clash, Once Justice, and even Hinokami Chronicles who have tried to tackle this genre. And unfortunately, unlike Ninja Storm, these games just didn't really last that long at all. Hinokami Chronicles was probably the best out of the games I just listed, but Cursed Clash and Once Justice were iffy ideas. I wasn't against the idea with Once Justice. I bought it. I got Once Justice 1 and 2, and I played it with friends. It was relatively kind of fun. I didn't play competitively, so I never had too much issues with the floatiness of it. Hinokami Chronicles was actually pretty fun. I thought the mechanics of it were pretty cool, but I think my issue with it was more of a roster thing and them just trying to get you to buy DLCs later. I personally think the game shouldn't have had a sequel because they just dropped the same exact game but with slightly more characters, but that's just what I think. But Cursed Clash out of those games was one of the worst to even drop. I thought the game was terrible. I thought it was too stiff. I thought they had the best anime. Personally, I'm a really big fan of the anime, and they just didn't deliver. They had a lot of characters to work on, but the game just didn't come out as good as I thought it'd be. It was just kind of cheap, and you could obviously feel it from playing it. Even the graphics weren't beautiful. So I really hope that they're not going to make a sequel of that. All in all though, I'm really optimistic for the next releases of anime games, especially once they're serious. I'm looking forward to maybe a new JoJo game, a Blue Lock game, because I really think they could crash into the market with that. But that's all I had to say though. If you like the video, subscribe. If you have something to talk about, even expand on a point, I'm down to talk in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.